we must begin to develop, number one, and this is the most important thing we can do as a people. We must first develop an undying love for our people. Our people. Our people.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be...
When a man is being criminally treated, that some criminal has the right to tell that man what tactics to use to get the criminal off his back. When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever is necessary to get that criminal off my back.
I might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
The number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like, they're you know, technical savvy, and I think that it is time that we call them out. Like, that we can't stand by and stand back. Like, we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families.
I'm back. Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian, HRap B. Williams. This is the Intervention Media. Thank you for tapping in. Hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend to tell a friend. I am back. I am back. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, because I did. I didn't really do a lot, but I didn't do anything. But actually, I worked all weekend, but it was still a wonderful weekend. You know the drill. If you're not watching this live, please go to www.theintervention.com, www.theintervention.com. That's a video on human trafficking. No Black History Today. It was on human trafficking. And, you know, you'll see the show in its entirety. If you're not watching it live, hit that like, hit that share. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tap in. It is important. Let me get right to it. Thank you to Dolores and John. Without Dolores, without John, there is no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. It is greatly appreciated. To the people who have been tapping in, to the 3 people who subscribed today, and all the people who have subscribed in the past, salute to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's get this party started. Human trafficking, abuse, human trafficking, and the disregard for human life. That's what the show is about today. Because if we're not taking care of the women, I keep telling y'all, we're not taking care of the women, we're not taking care of the children, we're not taking care of the elderly, the human race in its entirety will cease to exist. As you saw, Tim Tebow started the show speaking about the abusers of children are parents. Most of them, the majority of them, are affluent, educated white men assaulting their children. This isn't an attack on anyone. This is an attack on everyone, because to quote the great MLK, or if you more commonly known as the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. To quote Islam, the harming of one human is the destruction of the entire human race. Treat your brother as you would want to be treated yourself. And I can go on and on with spiritual and religious doctrine that says when you harm someone, you harm us all. That's why I'm talking today. We are entering what is the summer months. We are in a tumultuous time. And I like I say every day, I am speaking to my tribe, the people that look like me on the face of this earth directly. But when I speak to them, I'm speaking to all of humanity. People, when we are watching these people from ICE and other organizations snatch people up, and you guys are allowing it, you are not raising Cain to stop these things. Hey man, they shouldn't be here illegally. First of all, 99% of the people are here. I would say 90% of the people are on the North American continent illegally, because somebody came over and colonized it. So don't tell me about these imaginary borders that people have created to say little nation states, whether it be the 48 here, Alaska and Hawaii, or just the nation itself. What I want you to understand is this. We can no longer stand by and watch people be abused. So you don't have to take you don't have to Brian HRap, B. Williams. I'm just a guy. You know, you more than likely respect the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I know you do. Now, I have never met a person who didn't respect him. You may disagree with his ideology, and that's okay. You don't have to, we're not put here to agree. We put here to have discourse and hopefully come to some common ground. But when we are hurting people because who they lay with, who they pray with, and the lifestyle that they are participating in, and if it's not a lifestyle or the way they identify themselves, and you allow that to happen, that means you're in line. If you are standing in line and watching people in front of you get abused and you don't say anything, understand when they get them out of the way, you step up and then you're up for abuse. The reason I'm saying this is this. They're doing away with after school. They've done away with a lot of after school programs. They've done away with a lot of kindergarten. They've done away with summer jobs. They've done away with a lot of health care. You literally had a government appointed official stand in front of the world and say, well, when they asked about Medicaid and Medicare and the lack of health care, and tell her that her people are dying. Mind you, I said her. People are dying. Her response was, we all gonna die. And then she tried to back map it later on. No, you said what was on your mind. You know, that's not a misspoken statement because you think you're above it. See, they won't mistreat me as a woman because I'm part of their crew. Believe that. Understand that. Human trafficking, abuse, and things of that nature is an age-old thing, especially I can only talk about here in the United States of America since 1492. You had people participating in cannibalism. You had people who wrote a contract to the country that did not include women, did not include people of color, and did not include the people who are First Nation people. So if you believe that you are above the abuse, that's exactly what they want you to believe. If you don't, Sonia Sanchez wrote a poem about it, and it's talk about the Holocaust in World War II. How they got rid of the Ethiopians, they got rid of the identified as gypsies. I don't know what to call those people, so if I'm disrespectful, please forgive me. Charge to my head, not my heart. Then they start attacking the Ashkenazi Jewish community. 6 million of those people died, and here we are talking about that on a regular basis. We have people who have raided my home continent and extracted people on a regular basis. They're still doing it. They're taking people from Libya, and all y'all jumping on planes in America. I'm going to Dubai. A lot of those beautiful buildings and those wonderful structures are created by Libyan people kidnapped and forced into slavery. Yeah, this is 2025. This is 2020. This is 2015. This is 2013. This is 2010. This is a ongoing situation. So you think, oh man, slavery was a long time ago. No, first and foremost, you're a darn lie. It is not a long time ago. I have an uncle who I met who used to give me what we used to call $4 or 50-cent pieces, who I recently found out was an enslaved person. Because, yeah, we celebrate Juneteenth, but some of us didn't get free. Do you know those people working as enslaved at forced indentured servitude for free indentured servitude in the 60s? But I got an uncle. He was enslaved. Yeah. So, oh man, that was a long time ago. I got a cousin who was on this very program and told us about how his aunt, he's in his, I think, mid to late 70s, his aunt was an enslaved person. He had a conversation. So you are touching people who touch people who were enslaved. Mother Fletcher, who was the last surviving member of the people of the Tulsa riots, the Tulsa race riots, the Tulsa uprising, or the Tulsa attack on Black people. And what's that, 101 years ago now. Yeah, she's still alive. She's 110 years old. That means she has had interaction with these people. So, oh man, look, you think slavery was a long time ago? It could have been. You want me to tell you why? 163 years is not a long time. Now, if you're a human being in regards to life, that's a long time. But it's not 100. That means it only ended 110 years after the country was born. Not even 110 years. We're talking about 90-some years. I forgot 1776 to 1863 is 90-some years. See, we are being duped into believing, oh man, that was a long time ago, it will never happen. Like this is why I consistently, because I know people in the community and people worldwide are bound to their faith. Was one of the greatest tropes ever told. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to make you believe he didn't exist. I figure out how that ties into the program, or reach out to me and I'll tell you about it. Now, with that being said, that's what I want you to understand. They're breaking down all these things because they're trying to be a nation who's a minority and controlling the majority, much like in South Africa. And, well, the people in South Africa, they're killing farmers. Then we look at the numbers and you find out only 12 farmers were killed, 8 of them were black. And the farmers that they were references and those pikes and those crosses in the ground, though that wasn't even in South Africa, that was in the Congo. See, it's the greatest bait and switch con game in the history of the world. They're playing in our faces and having us pretend things. I posted something on my YouTube page and on my IG page and on my TikTok page at HRap_B, no matter where I'm at. Even on, I think that Twitter page still open, but I don't use it anymore since it was run by somebody, I believe it's a white nationalist, but that's neither here nor there. And just saw how ignorant this dude was. He said, I like the Constitution, the original version. And the guy said, hey, you think you like the fact that you can carry a gun? He was like, yeah. The Constitution shouldn't be changed, though. He said that's called an amendment. That was the changing of the Constitution. And then somebody came in, well, it was actually an amendment means this. Thanks, man. Good looking out. But it wasn't changed. What the point was, is that the original text of the Constitution? Was the Constitution changed? And if it was, then his point is moot. But you're smart. You took time out to write that paragraph. I appreciate it. Hit that like and share. And then you do me a favor. Back to the point. We must start protecting humanity. We must start protecting our tribe. See, as long as we allow the lion to tell the story, he is the bad guy. But the lion is not the bad guy. The hunter is the bad guy. Because there are 1,000,005 ways to eat. You know, I'm old enough to remember when you were watching movies and you see old things. You go into these affluent people's home and they have the heads of a moose, the head of a bear, a stuffed bear, the head of a moose, a head of a deer, and other game that they capture, eagles that they almost put into extinction, condors, and stuff these animals. Taxidermists is what they would call. And that was a thing, and that was a cool thing to do, but nobody really paid attention to the ecosystem and how those things kept things balanced. You need buzzards. You need, which is eagle is really just a giant pigeon. We've created this facade that the eagle is some wonderful animal, but it's really just a big buzz. It's a pigeon. It's a big dumb bird. But we're not gonna get into that. What I want you to understand is this. They're reducing the value. They're reducing the outward value of human life. They do it all the time in my community. They tell lies and then they put it in front of you and you're forced to believe it. Look at all these wild, crazy black children. Yeah, that's about 3 to 5% of our young people. Most of our young people busting their behinds at school. Mostly our young people working every day. Mostly our young people are doing responsible things, and you allow people to tell you who they are, or who our young people are and how they behave. Well, I know some bad young people. Yeah, we all do. We all do. But you know what? It's amazing how when you see 2 or 3, you can see 100, let's just say 15 bad people that look like us, and you attribute it to all of our youth and all of our young people. See, that's what's wrong with them. But at no point in the history of this country have we looked at Jeffrey Dahmer, John Gacy, and all these serial killers, David Koresh, Jim Jones, and these people who run cults, and attribute that to the entire white culture. Have we? But again, if you allow the hunter to tell the story, the hunted is the bad guy. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But, you know, we see black people are violent, but you beat on us for 339 years consistently, attempted to strip us of our humanity, but we're the wrong people. You have people who live it, Dutch people Dutch descended people living in a country called South Africa. 70% of you guys Dutch and the Dutch descendancy and Portuguese descendants and other descendants, and you're running the country. But now that people want their land, they rightfully want their land back. They're wrong. Asinine. But again, if you allow the hunter to tell the story, the hunted is the bad guy. As I was stating, human trafficking is not a new thing. The abduction, the abuse, and the disregard for human life on this continent called North America, aka Turtle Island. Look it up. Turtle Island. Look it up. Look it up. Turtle Island. But back to the point. It is not a new thing. But again, if you let the hunter tell the story, it's a problem. Don't understand? Look up Sally Heming. This is the wife, the side girlfriend of Thomas Jefferson. He took her to Europe. Yeah, he started sleeping with her when she was 14. She was an enslaved young sister. She was an enslaved ancestor that he was raping on a regular basis and had her on the side of his house and had caves built into his house so he can go continue to abuse this woman. But hey, the way they tell Thomas Jefferson, he had a love affair with a black woman. You a darn lie. He's a rapist, a pedophile. And that's what Tim Tebow was talking about, and that's what I'm talking about. And how does that tie into now? Because if you reduce academic programs, summer programs, after school programs, Head Starts, that means you're flooding the children in the streets. You're putting a lot of kids in the streets. And if you got people like the president who puts a person who's a notorious alleged, because I don't know what the man did. I wasn't there. I was 2 years old when he was arrested. An alleged gang organizer or organized criminal back into general population, and then if his organization, if they do what he wants them to do, they start flooding the crime in the city of Chicago, which will trigger martial law. Again, people, at what point are we going to wake up and realize, why do we need people who are organized criminals back in general population in Illinois? Because the governor of Illinois keeps saying, man, get on out of here, president. And the mayor of Chicago, the most powerful city of Illinois, man, get on up out of here. So we're going to fix you. And then y'all go, see, it's getting crazy. Not really looking into the story. Again, if you let the hunter tell the story, the hunted are the bad people. Look, I understand you guys think, hey, man, Chicago is crazy. Now, Rap, I get it all the time. Rap, you got to admit, man, Chicago is kind of crazy. Yeah, Chicago been crazy. Y'all don't understand what crazy Chicago is. I'm old enough to be 22 years old when the second highest amount of murders happened in the city of Chicago. See, when you say murders, you automatically go black people killing white people. No, murders. These were the ones that black people killing. These the rest of us. No. 972 murders in 1972. I was 2 years old. 20 years later in 1992, was the second most murders. And it was on a downtick until they tore down the housing projects. Chicago has a very organized gang unit, and they have people identified as specific gang members. They took their public housing, and put those people into rival gang neighborhoods, uptick in violence, and then you throw the rock and hide your hand. We don't understand what's going on. Yes, you do. When you have Robert Taylor homes, the Stateway Guards, the Icky and Ida B. Wells public housing, and you get this, those series of housing projects starting on 26th and State in Chicago down to 59th and State in Chicago. It was more people in those housing developments than in the state of Rhode Island. And you just spread them out throughout the city and watch the impoverished people hurt each other. And that's what happened. So while y'all went, oh, this is going crazy in Chicago. No, I'm here to tell you, I have been jumped by 2 different gangs, and it's not that I'm bragging about. It wasn't a fun experience at all. Getting kicked in the head was no fun at all. And I have been chased by gangs because I had the wrong colors on in the wrong neighborhood. Literally walking home from school, about to hop on the public transportation, and the dude identified me as a rival gang member because I had on a Pittsburgh Steelers jacket, which was a rival gang color. I literally lost my mind. I didn't realize, I knew where I was, but I wasn't paying attention. I was just on my way home. So don't tell me that Chicago is getting crazy. Chicago is crazy, has been crazy. And guess what? This is one of the original places of the drive-by shooting when you have people like Al Capone and Frank Nitti and the South Side Gang and the North Side Gang. Yeah, these are not the South Side Gang and Al Capone, the North Side Gang, his rival. Those are not black people. Those are not black people. I'm just letting you know. But they're just reinstituting this. How does this tie in to human trafficking, rap? How does this tie into abuse? Because just like our sister Sally Heming with Thomas Jefferson, what you do is you have a president who wants to kick ICE into Chicago, but you got the two most powerful people in Illinois going, you're not bringing those people here. We're not having that. They want to institute martial law because what you do is you get to rounding up the crazy people in Chicago, because Chicago's the most dangerous place, not in Illinois. It is not the most dangerous city in Illinois. And hey, news flash. Anchorage, Alaska is the most violent city in the United States of America. Look it up. Do yourself a favor. Now, as I was stating, you put underserved people in a disadvantage, and then you take advantage of them. If you don't believe me, Oliver North, 1989, on NBC, ABC, CBS, admitting that they put drugs in the communities throughout the United States, in impoverished communities in the United States of America, to fund a war. Nobody went to jail for that, I don't think. Or not enough people went to jail. Listen to what we do. We reduce the academic prowess. We reduce the employment prowess. We give you the illusion of inclusion. And then when we reduce the resources, you put people in a desperate situation. And in a desperate situation, they start trying to survive. And we're going to give you this powder to give your people to poison them. And then what we're going to do is create that prison industrial complex and incarcerate you. And then people, not your favorite Michael Jordan, it's another investor named Michael Jordan, he becomes a trillionaire. And we point the finger at those black and brown people because look at them, they're hurting each other. But all they're doing is what Joe Kennedy is world famous for, bootlegging. And if y'all only thought he was moving liquor, you are outside of your darn mind. But this is what's happening. See, that's the thing about history. It continues to repeat itself until you change it. It continues to repeat itself until you change it. We got to get rid of these migrants. And then when they make it comfortable, just like the Ethiopian Jews, we'll get rid of them, and then we'll get rid of the people that they call gypsies. It's the Jews. The Ethiopians, and then the gypsies, and then the Jews. Now it's the LGBTQ, and then it's the migrants. Then black and brown, we next. That racism train is never late. That racism train is never late because they want to adhere. They want to continue to rule over and lord over the country, but we won't adhere to those foolish tropes. People, we can no longer fall for this. All you people, including one of my closest friends, see, I don't really know about Kamala Harris. Do you know about her now? What you think now? All you brothers she ain't qualified. Again, just like that video I posted about an hour ago, when the dude said, I want the original Constitution and only with no changes, but those are the changes that let you carry guns. You like that change, but you don't like the other change. Stop allowing your oppressor to program your empty ass brain and put you in a disadvantage. Come on, people. We can no longer have people who captured you, enslaved you, beat you to a pulp, and continue to try to destroy you for the last 400 years, tell you what you need to be doing. No, we can no longer have our young people exposed to nothingness. We need to be pouring into our young people so they can strive and try to be the best that they can be. That is our goal. Our goal is not to sit around and allow our young people to be mistreated, undereducated, underserved, and disregarded. We can no longer have the ladies in our community walking around afraid. We can no longer have our elderly people afraid to leave their home because they don't know what the next move is, because their life is in danger. That is insane. At what point in the history of the world where the women and elderly walking around afraid. You need to be willing to die for these things. Our children are not to be played with. Our children are not, our ladies are not to be played with. And our elderly should be treated like platinum or uranium. We need to be lording over them and praising them. We need to damn near be carrying them around. But if you allow these people to continue to do these things, you will suffer the consequences. And I mean you. Because if you're hurting the ladies and damaging them, our children will be damaged. And if our children be damaged, our future is damaged. Then you look, it's for whatever reason, for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been this silly conversation. If you're a man, if you got a man, he come home and you make them do the man eat first, or do the kids eat first? And then everybody arguing about it. Let me end that right now. If you a man and you get up and go to work for 1 or 2 jobs, and you work 8 to 12 hours, maybe even 16 hours in a day, if you could, why are you doing that? You're doing that so your children and your wife and your family will be covered. And I don't need to eat first because I need my hey, y'all know the phrase of the day. I'm living so my great-grandchildren can have a better life. So of course I want to eat, but I go to work so my woman can eat, so she'll have the energy to feed my children and nurture my children, and my children can grow older and stronger than I ever was. So if you sitting around having that silly ass conversation about how we need to treat who eats first, the damn kids eat first, then the mother eat first, and then and real men eat what they can. Because guess what? Newsflash: if it's 24 hours in a day, 8 of them sleeping, 8 of them working, some of them to worship God and nourishment and rest. If you eating 3 times every day, how in the hell is your body ever healing itself? Didn't think about, oh, but you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Why? Again, look at nature. Do you see lions eating 3 times a day? Do you see gorillas and monkeys and elephants eating 3 times a day, or gazelle eating 3 times a day? Nah, you eat to live. You don't live to eat. So stop allowing people to tell you how to fix this. You need to be busting your back. So these young people, just like your parents, I don't care if you grew up in a homeless shelter, your mother was busting her back so you could be safe. Your father was busting his back so your mother could be safe. Your uncles and your friend and your cousins were busting their back so y'all family would be safe. But if we're allowing people to disregard our children's future, we have lost our mind. And in closing, this is what I want to cover before I shut this down. I'm calling out the pastors of the Black community. Y'all love hollering. Well, listen, $1 trillion go through the church every year, blah, 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 all that bull. Okay, cool. And y'all want to tell me how much y'all love the Lord? Y'all want to tell me about the word of God? Y'all want to tell me about Allah? Y'all want to tell me about Jehovah Jireh and whoever you pray to? Now, I'm glad your faith is strong, but there are at least 3 millionaire preachers here in Illinois, and I'm calling your names, sirs. Bishop Brazier, Reverend Meeks, and Bill Winston. If y'all let these kids in Chicago roam the streets with nothing to do, y'all need, it is this thing that was created and felt, well, I know of it from Philadelphia, and I think it started in 1966. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, it's the sentiment, not the facts. In 66, they started these things called freedom schools. It was this group that my father was a part of, the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense. Y'all millionaires own tons of property, have 10, 11,000 members. If y'all don't start some of these freedom schools for these young people in the summer, I don't want to hear nothing from none of your members. And guess what? There's a guy in Atlanta named Queflo Dollar. And I don't know this brother's name in LA. I don't know his name. He got 1 million people. And it's this dude named TD Jakes in Texas. And there's a bunch of pastors that look like me throughout this country. If y'all don't cover these kids, we need to start rebelling against y'all too. Because it needs to be, if you have Queflo, you had your congregation back, you a jet plane. If they got that type of money and your crib looks like a damn basketball stadium. You got that type of cake, you got that type of dough and that type of following, and these young people are out in the streets starving for knowledge, starving for love, starving for wisdom and understanding, academically, history, mathematics, science, and tech. STEM is what it's called. Y'all need to be kicked out the community. Just like Meeks here, just like Winston here, just like Brazier here, and there's probably some more here. I'm just saying the 3 biggest names here. And I'm calling y'all out. I even have people, man, you can't talk about them. You don't know what they're doing. Hey, dumbass, that's the problem. If I don't know what a pastor is doing in my community, he ain't doing nothing. So y'all need to be covering these children. God anointed you, remember? And if you got that cake, man, you need to be passing it out. And I'm using urban vernacular, aka slang. If you got the dough, the cake, the Skrilla, the money, the guap, whatever you want to call it. If you're riding around in a $65, $75, $80,000 car and you got a $500 suit on it, you got rings and chains, and you got 10,000 members, and the community is starving, y'all better take care of these kids this summer. And I don't care who said you can hate me and your members could come on here, oh man, rap. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand. I don't understand how God has blessed you with millions of dollars, and our children are out here in these streets with no summer jobs, no summer programs, no academic enhancement, no historic enhancement. We need to recreate the freedom schools here in Chicago. They got organizations here. They doing big things. You need to be funding those organizations. Millionaires. And hey, and there's one of y'all, I'm not gonna call you out because I don't want to count your money, but you were elected twice. In the state of Illinois, if you are elected to office twice, you get a $60,000 a year pension. So I don't want to hear nothing none of you creeps had to say. Protect these babies, man. Protect these babies. Protect these ladies, and brothers unite and protect each other. With that being said, I am HRap B. This is the End of the Bench Media. I'm about to be on in about another 6 minutes. Dougie Fresh, I'm on. We are doing Ali Sadiq tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Me and my man Mo, we doing the Chief Seats because we better than everybody. We doper than everybody. We killing it. We own. We the best podcasters in the history of the world. Understand that. Know that. This is what we do. I will be back in about 6 minutes, and I'll be back tomorrow evening, early afternoon, and tomorrow evening with the Chief Seats. And I'm going to try to do 5 shows this week. I'm going to wear myself out. That being said, 2 fingers, 1 word. I am HRap B, and I.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why